If you've ever tried to offer yourself acts of self-care and they feel fine but not deeply nourishing, there's a reason for that. Self-care without attunement is basically pointless. If you don't know how to listen to yourself and respond accurately, your attempts at self-care will feel surface level at best. Today, we'll talk about what attuned self-care is and why it's essential for building a nourishing relationship with yourself. And that nourishing relationship matters more than you may realize. Welcome to You're Not the Problem. If you've tried to fix yourself through discipline, mindset work, and habit hacks and still feel overwhelmed, overextended, never enough, or a sense that the life you're living isn't the life you were meant for, you're in the right place. Here, you'll learn why your patterns make sense and why you're not the problem, you're the possibility. Today, we're talking about self-care, but not the surface version most of us are sold. We're talking about attuned self-care, and the difference matters. Most of us, we were taught how to achieve, how to anticipate other people's needs, how to be responsible and perform well. What we weren't taught was how to build a genuine relationship with ourselves. So now we're adults trying to care for someone we barely know. That's the disconnect between bubble baths and deeply nourishing self-care. Self-care without attunement, it becomes just surface level relief. It may feel fine, nice in the moment, but it rarely creates the experience of being truly known and cared for. So let's pause for a second and define attunement. Attunement is the experience of being accurately seen and responded to. It's when someone notices your internal state and responds in a way that matches what you need. Think of how we care for babies, right? You wouldn't say, hey, I scheduled you a diaper change and a feeding for next Saturday, right? That's not attunement. We're watching that baby. We're getting to know what its different cries mean. We're anticipating its needs. That's attuned care. Ideally, we receive enough of that as children that we internalize it. We learn that our inner world matters. We learn what it feels like to have our needs recognized. And from that foundation, self-care isn't confusing. It becomes natural. When you feel tired, you rest. When you feel stiff, you set your work aside, you stretch or go for a walk. And when you feel emotions, you don't stuff them down or self-medicate them away. You tend to them. Most of us didn't receive consistently attuned care, right? This didn't happen because our caregivers were bad or intentionally harmful, but because many caregivers are overwhelmed, stressed, or not attuned to themselves either. So we adapted. We learned to scan the room instead of scan ourselves. We learned that being helpful, high-achieving, agreeable, or easy created safety. Those adaptations, they were intelligent. They protected something we deeply needed, connection. The problem is not the adaptation, it's that we couldn't stay connected to ourselves at the same time we were tending to everything else. When we don't get that consistent experience of attunement growing up, something predictable happens. We grow up not knowing ourselves very well. And many of the women I speak with, certainly myself, we are wildly competent, deeply disconnected at the same time. Our schedules are full, our responsibilities are taken care of, but what's missing is a steady, attuned relationship with self. And without that, we try self-care through lists and trends. We might do what Instagram recommends, and some things feel pleasant and some feel like chores. Some feel kind of irritating. And then we wonder why it doesn't work. And it's not that self-care doesn't work, it's that we were never taught to ask the more important question, what do I truly need right now? A pedicure can be self-care, so can journaling, so can a weekend away. But if what you really need is permission to say no, a pedicure is not going to solve that. If what you need is emotional support, a new water bottle or a pair of shoes will not nourish that. If what you need is deep rest without guilt, a bubble bath followed by a return to answering emails, it's not going to restore you. Without attunement, self-care becomes performance. But with attunement, it becomes relational. It becomes you listening inward and responding accurately. Now, if this resonates, you might be wondering, how can I develop that skill? Before I knew how to do that, I handed the responsibility to care for me to other people, right? I looked to others to give me the care I desired. So when I first tried caring for myself, it kind of felt awkward and ineffective. I didn't fully trust that I knew what I was doing. So my early attempts, they were kind of rigid, sometimes performative, sometimes forced, and that's just kind of part of the process. But over time, with commitment and consistent practice, my efforts paid off. I learned who I was. I learned what I needed. I learned how to provide it. And these are three distinct elements of attuned self-care: who you are, what you need, how to provide it. The relationship doesn't develop overnight, but it develops the same way that any meaningful relationship develops, right? Through time, attention, curiosity. So if you're wondering where to begin, I want to offer you 3 simple invitations. The first one is this: spend time with yourself. If you were getting to know another person, you wouldn't do that by glancing up at them in between emails, right? You would spend quality time together. You'd walk, you'd talk, you'd observe them. Just because you live with yourself does not mean you spend time with yourself. If the television's always on, or if you always have someone with you, or if your phone fills every quiet space, you're not actually spending time with you. That might look like long walks outside, time with your journal, sitting quietly with your coffee, trying experiences just to see how they feel. These are ways of gathering data about yourself. The second invitation is to create experiences that allow you to hear from your inner voice. So here's one example. You could go to the grocery store, walk slowly through the produce section, look at the vegetables and the fruit, and let your body respond. Touch them and smell them. Notice what you're drawn towards. Now, it's okay if you don't get loud and clear messages. The point is not perfection. It's to practice listening. The third invitation is what I call see where the wind takes you time. Schedule regular time where nothing is on your agenda and just see where the wind takes you, right? Nothing noteworthy needs to happen in this time. It's simply a space in your schedule where you can decide moment by moment what feels aligned. Recently, during one of my own see where the wind takes me days, I noticed that I stayed in the shower after I was clean and the purpose was over, right? I stayed in the shower a little longer instead of rushing into the day. I tried a new recipe because it looked good. I stretched longer after my workout. I used the sauna. I listened to a podcast. I ended up dancing in the kitchen. None of this was planned. I didn't know what I'd end up doing, but the choice was mine. And I had created a space where it was possible for me to make those choices. We all need more space where we're not performing, worried about being productive, or how well we are meeting expectations. We need time where we can hear from ourselves. So the invitation in this video is to shift your idea of self-care from performative acts to deep listening and responding. Your practice won't develop overnight. Did not for me, but a lot can change in even a month. So dedicate this month to these 3 invitations. Spend time with yourself, create space to hear your inner voice, and carve out some see where the wind takes you time. And as you do, you will begin to develop an attuned, loving relationship with yourself. And that relationship is one of the most important foundations on your road from your adapted self to your expansive self. If this conversation resonated with you, I go much deeper into this framework in my book, You're Not the Problem. You can download the introduction below and begin exploring what your adapted self has been protecting you from and how to access your expansive self more consistently. And if you're committed to building a grounded, regulated, expansive life, this channel is for you. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next conversation. And please share this with someone who needs to be reminded that they aren't the problem, they are the possibility.